Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on Aqua Data Studio. We will be doing a product overview of the tool, touching on all the different components and how they can help you through your day-to-day job. So again, welcome to this product overview of Aqua Data Studio. My name is Darren Fulmer. I'm a sales engineer at IDERA, and I primarily focus on the Aqua Data Studio product line. So you may or may not know, if you don't have a lot of familiarity with the tool. So Aqua Data Studio is it's software geared towards the IT professional that works with databases or data. It helps you in developing those databases. Aqua Data Studio can give you the ability to access your different databases, run queries, even import, export data if you're not on a trial software, visualize that data to share within your organization. Aqua Data Studio supports over 40 different database platforms, and that includes your traditional relational databases, NoSQL databases, and cloud databases. So you can have a mixed environment and work with a single tool. Aqua Data Studio can be installed on Windows, Mac, or Linux operating systems. So you have a wide range of environments that you could utilize the tool in. It's a mature product. It's been in the marketplace for over 20+ years. So we're going to walk you through the processes of registering your servers or your databases. Today, we're going to show you some of the right-click menus in the database navigation or the Explorer pane. We're going to work in the query analyzer or SQL editor, show you some of the capabilities there. We will demonstrate the query builder and how it can help you with SQL coding. We will show you the visual analytics component of Aqua Data Studio so that you can take that data that you're pulling out of your database and be able to share it across your organization to relay a message. The ER modeler, if you need to do any reverse engineering. And we're going to also touch on some of the tools that are in the tools menu and the DBA tools options as well in the product. So we are going to actually transfer over into Aqua Data Studio. We won't be doing this through PowerPoint presentation slides. I'm going to be demonstrating everything live in the product itself to give you a feel of how it's all done. Okay, so as you can probably see, I am in dark theme mode. This was introduced in 22.2. It was a big demand from the developers that the white screen caused eye strain. So we now have the option for dark theme. I tend to agree. I love dark theme on pretty much everything. It helps keep my eyes from getting that headache almost. So one of the beautiful things about Aqua Data Studio, it is a very customizable tool. So along with the standard white or dark theme, all of the workspace is customizable to how you want to set it up for the way you work. For me, I have my servers list here on the left-hand side. I have my workspace here in the middle. I have my file system on the right. Now, all of these windows here are movable or collapsible, so you can collapse them to give you more workspace if you want. You can move them, you can unpin them, move them top, bottom, right. All of these windows have that capability. So you can set up your workspace how you want it, the best way that suits you. So the first thing that you're going to do when you install Aqua Data Studio is you need to register your servers or your databases. So the way you do that is you can either click on this icon here in the top left corner, or you can go to the server and then come down here to register server, click on that option. Now in the register server window, you have all of the 40 databases supported by Aqua Data Studio listed here. You would go ahead and make a selection and start filling in the information for your database. So let me show you what that looks like. So after you've given it your name, you've decided, is this a production development or test environment? You make that selection. One of the things I always recommend, by default, tab color is not set. I always recommend that you set a tab color for your environments. And the reason for that is you can see clearly here on the top in my workspace, I use red, yellow, green. So green is my development, yellow is my test, red is production. And you can see here, it frames your workspace also with that color you've selected. So you can clearly visually see if you're, what type of environment you're in. You don't want to accidentally alter or drop something in a production environment that has a very similar name to your development environment that you thought you were working in. It just helps to eliminate that. So after you've input all of the driver information, authentication, your location, you'll hit test connect. So you're just going to make sure that your connection is working fine. You'll close that, you'll save your connection, and it will appear here now in your server list. So from here, you can build this out however you like. You can, as you can see here, use the drop-down arrows, open up your items within your server, your databases, tables. Now, whenever you're working in a particular table, let's say we're going to go ahead and open up a query analyzer or SQL editor, which is where you're going to do most of your work. I always recommend that you try to use the right-click menu as much as possible when working with your server list. And the reason for that is, if you can see over here, my Snowflake connection, I have my roles, warehouse, all these items are already populated for me if I do a right click and launch from a particular item. Same with the SQL Server. You can see here the database and schema and stuff is selected. If I just open up a query analyzer from the menu, I have to populate all that. So it's just one little step to help speed things up. So for example, here, I'm going to right click. You have these options here of creating, altering, dropping. You can edit the table data directly into the grid environment. You can have Aqua do just a select top number of rows, and that number of rows you can set in the options if you'd like. You can look at table properties. You can come down here. So query analyzer, we're going to go ahead and launch a query analyzer from this particular table. Now you can see here everything's been populated. Again, that just helps speed up the process. Now, when you're in the query analyzer, let's just go ahead and do a simple select star statement. If you pause after the from statement, you'll see that there's an IntelliSense pop-up box. This will give you all the objects that are selectable so that you can just choose it, and then that way you don't have to continue typing. So you can then execute here with the green arrow and get your data results down in your data grid. Some capabilities in the SQL editor. You can work with Excel as well as one of the databases. So if you're given an Excel sheet to work on, you can actually save it, and you can then connect to it and use Aqua Data Studio. So this is BI Studio in Excel. A little bit more complex query. I'm sure you guys are working with even much more complex stuff. Again, same thing here, a little different query. We can go to, you can input multiple queries within a SQL editor. You can highlight one particular query if you like, and you, rather than execute here, you can do execute current. And it will only run that query, give you the results for that. If you want to run everything, just drop down to the bottom, hit execute, and then we'll get data returned for all three of those queries. Now, if you notice, the bottom query here is actually pulling from a different database. And it opens up a separate window for the data results for each one of those queries. So you can see all three of them here. Again, you can see the color coding, how it brackets your workspace so that I clearly can see what I'm working in. Now, once you have your data returned, you can manipulate this data down in the grid. Let me just switch to, so you can highlight it, select it all. You can just select a particular column if you want and copy it out. You can sort. You can also move columns around if you need to. You can get the counts or sums by turning these on here. So a lot of capability. You can then take the data that you have, you can export it out as an Excel sheet. If you need to save that data and share it, you can also drop it into visual analytics as well, and I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. So you can take this particular data set and then start building charts on it. So one of the things that Aqua Data Studio also allows you to do, the SQL editor is great if you have a lot of experience with writing SQL. But if you are, let's say, a data analyst or a business analyst or somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience with writing SQL, Aqua Data Studio can help you with that as well with the query builder. And that will allow you to do drag and drop capabilities. Or if you're writing a extremely complex code, you can let Aqua Data Studio do the coding for you by using the query builder so that you don't have to worry about syntaxing and all that. And let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. So in the query builder, again, you can launch it from here, and query builder will open a pop-up standalone window, and it's right here. So this is what the query builder will look like. You can see it's a standalone window. And then you can also right-click here. Again, use the right-click menu, come down to Query Builder. If you click on the Query Builder, it's giving me the Query Builder for the BI Studio. So here we have the Query Builder for our test environment. And let me just go ahead and clear these out for you so you can see how it works in building the queries for you. So if you just take a table here from your drag it over to your workspace and drop it, you can see here how it's starting to write the SQL code for you. We can take another table, drag it over, drop it. You can see it's added that table now as well. You can see here that both tables have car number. So we can actually just click on that, drag it over, drop it, and create a join. And now that join has been added into your SQL statement. So again, if you're not very familiar with writing SQL code, the query builder can help you with that. If it's going to be an extremely complex query, you can let Aqua Data Studio take care of all the syntaxing for you. And once you have it all set up the way you want, you can highlight this code, you can copy it, execute it wherever you need to, share it, whatever. You can also execute this query from here and see the data results. Just come up again, the green arrow, execute, and we have the data results here. Again, you can export those out into Excel, or if you want, you can now take this data and you can launch the visual analytics. Now, visual analytics, again, is also going to be a pop-up window. You can launch it from the main menu here as well at the top. So when you launch the visual analytics, it gives you a workspace, again, drag and drop workspace. It gives you the dimensions and the measures of the items in those tables. So let's say we want to see employee name, salary, just drag and drop, and then we get the results returned. Aqua Data Studio's Visual Analytics has a built-in intelligence. So depending on what columns and rows, measures, and dimensions you're dropping in, it'll determine what the best chart is for that data that you're dropping in. So you can change that here if you want. You can do an area, you can do a line, whatever works best for the data that you're working with. Now you can also add labels. So you get your data labels here, or you can change the coloring of the bars. If your organization requires certain color palettes, you can do that as well. And then you can build a lot of different styles of charts. So let me go ahead and show you some of those. So here's a pie chart that you can build by dropping for here the profit in the columns, territory we dropped onto the color palette. We have a selection of the pie chart, so we have this built. You can highlight a particular piece of your data, and you can just view just the data for that slice of the pie in this example, and you can export that out so you can attach it to your visual analytics charts to share for that region. Another example bar chart here. This one you can see we have two different bar charts. So we are using ship date as one of our selections, and we are using number of records and profit, and this is by week. Now, so you can set up multiple charts in a single worksheet. And when you're working with any kind of data, you can come here, you can drop down, and right now we have it set by week. Let's say we don't want the week, we want the month. So we can just quickly switch over to month and be able to save that information and share it with the organization. This is a much more complex pie chart. We have a lot of different data sets selected to build this out. But again, each one you can actually view data and share it out. When you're working with your visual analytics, the types of charts that you have available to you are listed here in the visualization tab. Now you can see some of them are colored and some are grayed out. The ones in color, you have the correct number of dimensions or measures to actually utilize that chart. If there's one that's grayed out that you particularly want to use, you'll notice down at the bottom of this listing, it tells you what you need to be able to use that chart. So in this example, one or more geo dimensions, different dimensions and measures. So we would need to modify what information we have out there to be able to use that type of chart. But Aqua Data Studio gives you that information, so it can help you to build that. When you're working with your data here, you can come up here and you can also sort descending or ascending. So a lot of different options to be able to manipulate your chart to get it to show the message you want to relay. Now, when you're done building your worksheets, you can come down here and then you can go ahead and rename your worksheets. This is a profit by territory. This is a quick example. The reason why you want to rename them is once you've developed your charts and your worksheet, now you need to drop them into a dashboard to share them throughout your organization. So from here, we're going to go ahead and launch a dashboard. Now you can do that from this icon here, or the dashboard menu. We'll just click the icon. And the reason why you want to rename your worksheets, you can see here, everything lists out by the name that you give it in your worksheets here. Worksheet 2, worksheet 3, worksheet 4, if you get a lot of them, you really don't know what you're working with. So rename them so that you can better identify what you need. So with this, it's simple drag and drop again. Drag a worksheet over into the dashboard, drop it in. Let's go ahead and add another chart. You can see how it highlights, it splits the screen. That allows you to pick and choose where you want to drop it. So I'm going to just drop it on the bottom. So now we have our dashboard built, and then once you have it built out the way you want, you just come up here to File, Export, and now you can export this as an image, HTML, PDF, Excel table, so that you can now take that and share it. So let's say you've gone through your organization, you've pulled out all the data you need, you've shared it with your organization to relay a message, and now they have decided that what they want to do is, based off of that information, is decided they want to go ahead and start transitioning from their existing relational databases to cloud databases for financial reasons, let's say. So, or let's say you come into your organization and you've inherited a database that you had no prior knowledge of, or were involved in the building of the structure, and you want to understand it better. The Aqua Data Studio has the ER Modeler tool to allow you to do some of that backwards reverse engineering, or getting basically a blueprint of what environments you're working with. So the ER Modeler is located here at the top. You can launch it from there, and it is also a standalone window. And then from here, it will give you a blueprint of your database. So here I have all my tables in this environment. You can see that if you highlight a table, you can look at the columns, column information, data type, such. You can look at any storage information, comments if they're there. You can see your key relationships. Let's say when looking at your current environment, you want to go ahead and add a table before you transition it over into a new environment. You can come over here to the entities, just click table. Let me just scroll that down. You can see the different entities here. So we'll click table, take it over, drop it into our environment, our workspace. And if we double click it, we can start adding all the information. So database, the schema, we'll give it a name, test, come down to the columns, give it a column, column test. You can drop this down and change the type of data type it is. Go with an integer. And then we want to allow nulls on it. We just hit OK. And now we have that table added to our database. And once you have everything that you need when looking at your reverse engineering or your blueprint, you can actually come up to tools and you can generate a script here. Pick your items, go with the defaults, and now we have SQL that we can run. Now, it's not a dedicated ETL tool, so if you're going from, let's say, an on-prem Oracle or something, and you're moving to a cloud database like Snowflake, there's some modifications you're going to need to make, but you have the initial script to start with to make sure, and then you can then make those adjustments manually and go ahead and create that environment into your new work area. So, you know, great way to cut down on the amount of coding you have to do. So let's say after you've went ahead and got that new environment set up, you want to go ahead and start testing your SQL, your queries against it to optimize that database. Aqua Data Studio has tools for that as well. So if you come up here to the tools environment or tools menu, you have your import data and export data. And as I mentioned, those are only available if you're a licensed user. They're disabled in a trial for reasons that don't allow people just to download the trial, export their data, and then not purchase. You have compare tools. So you want to compare the schemas between the two environments, you can do that. You have your random table and data generation. So you have your table set up. You haven't populated which production data yet, but you want to do your testing first. You can do this here. Generate random data, fill those tables, run your queries, see how they run, optimize them before you go live. So Aqua Data Studio has the ability to take you from the beginning of a life cycle all the way to the end. And you do that in a single tool across multiple platforms in a hybrid environment. So very useful in the sense that you don't have to learn multiple tools in your environment. And it's also built for multiple types of job duties. Let's say you're in a environment where you have to wear multiple hats. So maybe you're assigned as a DBA to certain particular databases within your organization. Aqua Data Studio can help you with that as well. There are DBA tools for this listing of databases. It's not all 40 databases that are supported. It's just these top ones here. Like for example, Oracle. If you have an Oracle environment you're managing, you have your instance manager, storage manager, rollback segments, security manager, etc. Same with let's say Microsoft SQL Server. Not as robust a tool set because Oracle's been around just a lot longer, but you can see there's quite a number of tools there to help you in managing that database. Now, one of the things, I know we're at the half-hour mark. There's a couple other resources I want to go ahead and touch on real quick for you all. The help online documentation, great resource for new users. If you're trying to figure out how to do something and you're not really 100% sure, you can come to the online documentation here. If you click on it, it will launch a web browser. and then you can come up here and do a search for, let's say you need more information on the debugger components of Aqua Data Studio. You can do a search on debugger, and then you get all this information here. Let's say there's only a handful. It's Microsoft SQL, Oracle, DB2, Sybase. Let's say it's a Oracle debugger you want more information on, click on it. This will give you a lot of information here, plus screenshots of how to go through the process. Another resource for you as well is aquafold.com. So if you go to aquafold.com and you have Aqua Data Studio here, click on Aqua Data Studio, and then this is going to give you a lot of information. There's videos to watch. Let's say you want to learn more about the visual analytics component. Just scroll down here to visually analyze data, click learn more, and then you get videos here as well. You get information on different ways to utilize your data sets, pivot tables, calculations, whatever you're looking for. You can find a lot of information here as well. So a couple of great resources. Another thing that's a really useful tool within Aqua Data Studio is the SQL log. If you come here to help SQL log, this will open up a window for you. Just get it out of the way. Then you can go ahead and hit execute, start running your queries. Now if we go to the SQL log, you can see here, shows the query executed, how long it took, the server. If I'm on SQL Server, for example, here, execute, then go back to the SQL log. You can see here, because the first one was Excel, doesn't give you a user, but you can see the user here. You can see all the different statements that were run. So if you're running into anything that is causing some choke points in your queries, you can turn on the SQL log. You can see what, maybe isolate who or what statement is doing that, and then modify or make some optimizations. So just another one of the components that's built into Aqua Data Studio. So Aqua Data Studio is a very robust tool, extremely customizable, works across multiple platforms for multiple job descriptions. It's a great tool to have in your overall inventory, just simply because you can learn one tool for so many different things. So very useful in that sense. So let me go ahead and see if there are any questions. So somebody asked if Aqua Data Studio works with version control. Let me go ahead and show that real quick. Version control is available. If you go to your file system here, there is version control, and then we have the 4 subversions, CVS, Perforce, and Git within the version control integration. So there is version control. Somebody else asked about dark theme. If you go to File, go to Options, General Appearance, here's Aqua Data Studio Dark. When you drop this down, you would pick Dark and restart it. All right. If you have any other particular questions, you can reach out to me at my email, darren.fulmer@idera.com, and I can go ahead and answer those for you. Or you can send it directly to your sales rep, and they'll relay it to me, and I'll get an answer for you. Go out there, play with the tool, have fun with it. Again, use those resources that are available to you to help you through the process, or like I said, just send your sales rep an email with whatever question may come up, and then they'll get it to me. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time today. I hope you have a good day.